Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the GAVS Technologies webinar. Discovery is key for digital transformation. My name is Kerrie Hoffman. I'm a strategic advisor for GAVS Technologies and your host for today. Digital transformation is a topic near and dear to my heart, and it has become a business imperative at the C-suite level in many organizations. I believe we are moving out of the industrial age and into the next stage. There are many signs pointing to this fact. The way digital businesses are run is vastly different than traditional businesses. Digital businesses run 10 to 50, even 100 times faster than traditional businesses. In a digital business, people are organized into small cross-functional teams with an extreme focus on customer centricity. These teams have agile mindsets and agile practices, and they often tap into alternative talent pools. These are just some of the differences between a digital business and a traditional business. And these are the reasons why it takes a digital transformation to get to be a digital business. Today, we're going to zero in on the discovery phase in digital transformation and some of the important aspects of the discovery phase, such as how it is objectives driven, not deliverables driven. Before I give any more of Shree's talk away, let's go through some logistics. Every webinar, those who participate fully in the webinar are put in a drawing for a prize. So I'm happy to announce the winner of last month's webinar, and that is Jackie Hag. Congratulations, Jackie. Now, in order to be eligible to win and be put in the drawing for this webinar, please participate fully in the webinar, including all polls and a survey at the end, so you stand a chance to be a winner. As usual, the winner will be announced at the next webinar. So one more piece of logistics before we jump in. If you would like to ask a question, please use the questions panel, which is likely located on the right side of your screen. If you don't see the question panel, it may be minimized. Simply click on the arrow on the icon ribbon and the item called questions to open it. You can type your questions into the question panel at any time, and we will address as many questions as possible after the presentation. Once again, I am Kerrie Hoffman, Strategic Advisor for GAVS Technologies and your host for this webinar. In addition to my role as Strategic Advisor at GAVS, I am owner of Focal Point Business Coaching for small and mid-sized businesses and co-founder and principal for Get Digital Velocity, enabling large enterprises to move to frictionless business. I am a business transformation and human potential expert with a passion for digital acceleration. I have over 30 years of corporate experience in multiple industries and functions, including business unit CIO for several business units of Johnson & Johnson and Johnson Controls. I also held several roles at Aurora Healthcare. It is my pleasure to welcome our speaker for today, Shree Chaganty. Shree is CTO for GAVS Technologies. Shree's prior role was CTO and co-founder of AppInsure, a Silicon Valley-based startup, which is now part of GAVS. Shree has worked in the area of data communications and internet technologies for the past 35 years and introduced more than a dozen products into the US, Japanese, and European markets. Shree was previously involved in additional startups. He was CEO and founder of Holo Corporation. Prior to the startups, Shree was director of software at the Data Communications Systems division of NEC America and has additional corporate experience with GTE and Burroughs. Shree holds 5 patents in the area of high availability and clustering, as well as an MS in computer engineering from Drexel University. Welcome, Shree.
Thank you, Kerrie, for that introduction and very appropriate comments regarding digital business and what it takes to become a digital business. Before I jump into the subject of the day, let me introduce you GAVS and some features of this webinar and how we conduct this webinar. GAVS is a pioneer in algorithmic intelligence-driven machine learning solutions and helping our customers ushering in digital transformation in a pragmatic manner. This webinar is going to be informational webinar. This is the third one that we are doing in the series of digital transformation. And the purpose of this webinar is to share our expertise, technical vision, and experiences that we are encountering dealing with Fortune 100 companies. And we're soliciting your experiences and thoughts. So this is not a sales pitch. We're not trying to sell you anything. We would like this webinar to be an interactive webinar. So there will be 4 polls where we are going to be asking you to provide your input so that we could see our thought process and what we are hearing from the other sources of industry are in alignment. And at the end of the webinar, there's going to be a survey that we would highly appreciate if you can take time to let us know how this webinar has been educational and informational to you. So with that, first let's start with the summary of the first 2 webinars. In our first webinar, we addressed what digital transformation is all about. And we identified what are the forces that are driving those digital transformations. And we covered the need to get to that transformation happen, the importance of 0 outages across the organization, across the enterprise, as a goal that should be put in place for us to get that digital transformation happen. So after, and as part of that webinar, when we did our survey, many of the participants, majority of the participants, said the challenges that they face with digital transformation is the legacy technology that they have today. And which is one of the data points that we are learning as we are interacting with our customers is the enormous amount of development effort that's happening in transforming these legacy applications into the modern microservices application. That's happening, and it will take few more years to get there, but definitely that challenge that is recognized is being addressed. And about 50% or more than 50% in our first webinar said that they've already initiated digital transformation projects, which these attempts of trying to migrate these legacy applications is an indication, as well as other projects. And majority of them have said that the customer experience is the one that is driving the digital transformation. And who is the customer doesn't necessarily have to be an external customer. Internal and external customers are the customers at the end of the day that are going to make a company successful and successfully transform digitally so that they can become digital businesses. In our second webinar, we focused on the customer experience, the significance of it. Because building a product or building a platform or a service that is digital, if it is not user-centric, then or customer-centric, as Kerrie was mentioning. And one of the points that Kerrie made in the last webinar is organizations have been traditionally looking inward out, and they should start looking outward in. So unless this user-centric insights are not taken into consideration, the digital platform or service is going to fail because it is not going to resonate with the users. And as part of our webinar, a couple of poll results were very interesting. Almost there was a universal agreement that there is no difference between an external customer and an internal customer, because the internal customer is as much a revenue generator as an external customer, if the internal customer is more productive in making the external customer to be the revenue generator. And of course, again, we kind of emphasize the fact that 0 outages, which is key for digital transformation, which is actually being driven by the end user experience, still remains to be an important aspirational goal for digital transformation. With that summary of those two webinars, let's start getting into the first step in discovery and why in digital transformation, and why is that discovery is key in digital transformation. The most important aspect that we see all along, most organizations, okay, are going through this digital transformation as a project. It is not a project. It requires a cultural change. It requires to be treated as a product, but it is not being recognized so. Why is it? Very simple. Anything digital falls under the purview of IT. IT departments have been traditionally seen as cost centers. Therefore, they're going to be focusing on delivering projects on time and within budget. A project is something that one point of time or other is going to be completed, shipped, and closed. But digital transformation is a continuous journey. It is not a project. It should be treated as a product, which means that IT requires to become a service organization, a cultural change. A product like business is never done. It requires constant discovery, learning to improve, transform, and maintain. And so treating digital transformation as a project to get from one place to another is not the appropriate way to look at it. It should be treated as a product. It should be treated as a continuous journey to success, and which requires adopting cultural change and will never have a destination, because the service methodologies, tools, applications, processes that are all supporting this transformation have to be continuously be enhanced, and there is no stop to it. Which means that if you're really going into this digital transformation, there is a lot of importance to this discovery phase. First of all, you have to explore the motive. How and why are you embarking upon this digital transformation? Do you have the skills, the drive, the appetite, the budget for enduring this change in the organization? Or are you just looking at modernizing some of your business models, spice it up with a new product feature here and there, and can have some incremental technical enhancements, reduce the cost, and have the new website all flashy and everything so that you can generate the revenues, increase the revenue generation? That's not digital transformation. Nothing wrong with it. But that, you should not confuse it with digital transformation. Digital transformation actually gives you the opportunity to explore what is existing in your organization. Have a clear, honest baseline of people, processes. Should give you, and that's the reason why discovery phase is very important, is why is that you're doing it? If digital transformation is going to be a cultural change that is going to be addressing the customer experience as the driving truth for the business sustenance, then what needs to be done from within to bring that change? The discovery phase is your organization standing in front of a mirror and asking that image to change. Sorry, I'm kind of copying a little bit of our famous musician's words here, but that's basically what it takes. So with that, I'm going to jump into our first poll, which will run for a minute, and I would please request all of you guys to participate in the poll. So the poll is: your organization equipped an honest baseline of people, process, and technologies to take upon this journey for digital transformation? Please participate. This will run for a minute. I'm going to be closing it in 10 seconds. And I see that about 70% of people participated, but appreciate if others can cast in your vote as well. So I'm going to close the poll. I'm going to share the results with you. Very typical. When about 50% of the organizations are saying that they're starting or in the process of digital transformation, which is actually reflected here, saying that about 26 plus 32 are in the process of finding out what they actually want to do. 42% currently ready is a fantastic endorsement from the people who have participated. And again, this is like, again, we are not passing judgments here, gentlemen and ladies. This is basically our way of reinforcing our learning. So these, again, we will put these results up as a series of our observations and white papers. And thank you for participating. And with that, let me figure out how I can hide the results and move on with my presentation. Discovery in digital transformation. Kerrie touched on this one earlier on. It should be objectives driven and not deliverables driven. Many places where the Gartners of the world have reported that the digital transformation projects have failed, they have driven it more from a deliverable point perspective. They've driven it like adherence to the ISO standards. Did we meet this? Did we meet this? Have we calculated this? Have we put this SOP in place? Have we created this? That is deliverable driven. Digital transformation discovery should focus on what is the objective for doing it. At the end of the day, if it is the customer experience, customer exhilarance with what you're providing, the transformation of that customer experience that makes you partner of that organization, where they see no difference between their organization and yours, and you become the prime ministers and consultative experts, is the ultimate goal of this customer experience. The customer experience saying that I got a response in 5 seconds and somebody else talked to me, that's fine. But the experience that you're looking at is where the difference, the line that separates you from the customer is erased, and you're invited into that family as part of that family to help them to grow. That is the objective for digital transformation. It cannot be measured in deliverables saying that we have done it in 3 minutes and tomorrow it's going to be 10 minutes. It is not that. What is that is required? Tools, processes, people, applications that will support that. For that to be accomplished, you need to have a complete visibility of your business processes, a complete visibility and inventory of business processes that you're running. What are all the applications that are supporting those business processes? What are all the service delivery touch points for the customer, whether it is internal or external? And what service delivery improvements are required? So that visibility and that focus of objective-driven digital transformation is the key in the very first step of discovery. Again, going back to our, if digital transformation is targeted to enhancing the customer experience so that there is this line between customer and my organization is going to be raised, and we have to put in the necessary processes and tools in place, then the discovery has to start with identifying what you have. With that, I will launch my second poll because this is very relevant to what I just covered. And I want to ask you guys, is your organization equipped with the tools? Does it have the discovery tools to provide the analytics, technology-driven assessments, and benchmarking to the factual data? This is an important question because many times a recorded, stale, static information is taken as the basis for this discovery, and that has been recognized by Forrester as one of the reasons why many of the digital transformation initiatives fall into the bucket of projects and fail. There are about 20 seconds more, and please, I have about 50%. I would like to meet the last post numbers of 75, so others please help us. And I'm closing this, and I got about 60% participation for this poll, and let me share with you the results. We do not have any such tools or platforms, 0%. A reflection again that there is, digital transformation might become a buzzword. The hype precedes the practical adoption. So probably we're starting to see this digital transformation hype is being translated in adoption at multiple levels. And that's why there are so many research results out there from these reputed analyst firms saying what the percentage of success and failures are in this adoption. About a third of you said you're exploring new, and about 50% of you said you do not have adequate tools. And that is a clear reflection of the industry out there. People are not equipped enough to undertake this digital transformation. Let me have the results and move on. So, a holistic approach, as I was mentioning earlier on, is required for discovery. When you do that, what are all the business processes? Do you have an inventory of them? Is that inventory accurate? Does it reflect everything that happens? And again, my question earlier on was, do you have such kind of tools that can discover without you auto-discover these business processes, the combination of the applications that provide this business processes? What is the demand? What is the usage of these processes? And how are they effective? How effectively are these business processes being monitored? And if they are being effectively monitored and they are effectively running, what is the impact of these processes? Is the impact of these processes to your overall goal of driving the digital transformation with the customer-centric approach is not there? Your discovery right there tells you that you have to change the processes and the architecture of the service delivery chain to meet that. You need to have a complete picture, and this real-time realistic discovery is what will be the basis for you to define what your digital transformation is going to be. If you do not know, you cannot measure it. If you cannot measure it, you cannot perfect it. If you cannot perfect it, you cannot reach that transformed state that you want to get to. Therefore, the key for this digital transformation is that discovery that is involved. And this discovery, when you involve it, when you actually discover, the next step of discovery is, okay, I discovered this new land, and this new land is fertile land for me to create new generation of population, right? That's the whole deal of this new frontier that has been discovered. So you've discovered something. So what are you going to be doing with it? You've got to be looking at what is this services or delivery chain consists of. They're all composition of various processes. They could be synchronous, asynchronous processes. That processes are actually supported by a composition of various software elements. And all those software elements may be composition of a lot of applications out there, microservices, Dockers, containers. However it is realized, at the end of the day, a business process is a set of services that are working synchronously and asynchronously to satisfy a customer demand. That customer demand, if you can start putting a metric, a service level, what is the service level? So previously, I was talking to you about the IT organization's cultural change. If you go to an IT person and talk to them, what is your service level? I need to close a P1 in 15 minutes. That is the service level. There is no service level today in IT departments that you could go and discuss with the CIO saying, my service level is zero tolerance, zero outage. We are measuring ourselves in reactive metrics. When we can start measuring ourselves in proactive metrics is when that digital transformation that matters to the end user becomes. If I'm reacting to an outage and saying I'm going to fix it in 15 minutes, you're already telling that for 15 minutes my customer does not have access to a service. When we turn it around and make it a zero incident enterprise, when we strive towards that zero outages, there could be events and incidents, but the outages, zero outages enterprise is when the service levels are back. For that, you need to know what is normal. What is happening today? Do you know what the normal service levels that you're providing to your end users? Are you satisfied that normal is optimal? And when you start questioning yourself for that is when your discovery for digital transformation begins to happen. With that, let me start my poll number 3. And this is last but one poll. And here, we just want to know how much do you know of all the business processes that are supporting, that are running your organization, how many applications support them, and how many of them are critical. All of that, of course, is not reflected here in these multiple choices. But the purpose of this is how do we relate these business processes to the applications that support them and the IT that supports them. Got about 20 more seconds, and 50% of you participated. And that has gone up by another 10%. And in hopefully the next 10 seconds, I'll have my 75% to 80% participation, which has been usual for all our surveys and our webinars. So I'm going to be closing this in 5 minutes. I fell short of my target by about 3%. So thanks for everybody who participated. I'm going to close and share the results with you. Not sure, we don't know. 100 applications, 100 plus applications. The critical nuts and bolts that are going to be running a business and that is going to be making money for the business, in turn making money for you as your payroll, is anywhere. And I have never seen a CIO in the last 6-7 years that I've been selling this performance enhancement solutions for digital transformation, put a number saying that we have 133 applications, of which 33 are mission critical. Never. Because they don't know. Because they haven't discovered. Right? Because we covered this in our first and second webinars. The agility of the development environment, of agility of being able to add services has become real time. And nobody can keep a real time track of what services and applications are being pushed out there to provide the business process support. Anyways, going forward, let's just see what discovery can lead to. If you had a successful discovery, just imagine if you can discover whatever it is you're discovering, you get the ability to monitor it. When you start monitoring it, you'll get to have the ability to analyze what you're monitoring. And when you're analyzing it, because you're smart, you get to predict because you're learning patterns. And when you learn the patterns, you know how to remediate, how to react proactively so that I can remediate it. If you translate that to an IT, if I actually can start looking at discovering my processes, discovering my topologies, discovering my business processes, and starting to identify the areas that I need to monitor, collect that events from multiple sources, being able to filter, analyze, so I can start looking at patterns and starting to learn based on that pattern, and employ machine learning, because it is going to be tons of data, big data, and human learning is going to fall inadequate. When I can apply that machine learning to these patterns and learning, then I can start looking at what can be taken as a proactive action so that the service levels I want to maintain becomes a norm in our organizations. And again, I think I might have said this once before in one of the webinars. If you go to google.com and the web page doesn't show up, the first thing you do is go and reset your Wi-Fi router. That is the level of 99.99999% guarantee that you got, that if google.com doesn't show up, it is not Google's fault. It is your Wi-Fi router's fault. That kind of customer satisfaction and experience will become a norm and can become a norm for everybody. So with that, last poll for the webinar, and that would be a question for you as to how would you rate your organization on the discovery aspects in this digital transformation. Got about 20 more seconds to go, and I had about 60% participation already. That's great. Looks like everybody has an opinion on their organizations. People are going to close it in 4 seconds, and let me close the poll and share the results with you. For those of you that consider your organization is 100% excellent, I definitely will be reaching out to you personally to learn from you, because the 35 and 45% is what we are seeing as a normal out in the industry. The discovery to be 100%, the discovery has to be real time. The discovery cannot dependent upon 6-month audits. Discovery should have the tools and platforms in place that enable that real-time dynamic changes to be captured. Shrinking out, shrinking in. Captured. So, but the majority of you, 75% of you who fall with fair and average, is where most of the industry is. And most of the industry is looking for such kind of technologies and tools that will help them discover everything, starting from the infrastructure all the way to the business processes, and discover the usage and the adaptability of those across the stack. And that is what we have seen. Let me hide the results of it. And moving forward, digital transformation starts with true discovery. You could say, what is true discovery? Just now, the question I've asked. True discovery is the honest discovery, not a reported discovery of what is actually happening within your organization. And for that, you could start with multiple phases, but the discovery, being able to auto-discover your business processes, auto-discover your users, auto-discover your topology, auto-discover everything that runs your business. And once you auto-discover, the auto is an important word here because these are agile service delivery chains and they're changing in real time and you should be able to capture it. Once you capture it, you have something to monitor. Once you start monitoring it, all of this has to happen even before you embark upon a digital transformation. You need to identify what is the effectiveness of what you are monitoring. Because at the end of the day, you want this digital transformation for an objective. The objective is customer, user, experience, and enhancement. And once you start monitoring something for the effectiveness of what they're doing, you have the diverse data sets that you can analyze, filter, understand the correlations, and then actually start using it to become predictive because you could start looking at the patterns, pattern formations, and you can use the algorithms for machine learning to capture these patterns and how to react automatically when such patterns become anomalies and need to be remediated. This entire gambit of the solutions and the platform being in a place, starting with the discovery, is what enables you to take upon this digital transformation. As a first step here, I want to tell you that so far, I did not mention whether it is operations or whether it is a business process related to a particular HR function. I didn't say this applies universally. This platform that you can adopt, these components are something that you can adopt for these various levels of we at GAVS, realizing the power of that platform and the components, have put that platform together. And we're addressing it from a tech ops platform because I'll tie it back to my first statement. Anything digital is project driven, become product driven. And for them to become product driven, they need the digital transformation platform. And that is what GAVS provides to our customers. And we call it Zero Incident Framework with an objective of helping the IT operations accomplish zero outages. That is the end of my thoughts on discovery and its importance for digital transformation of an organization. Kerrie, your thoughts, reflections, and then questions from our participants.
That was awesome, Sri. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to give my comments. Just a reminder, though, first, if you would like to ask a question, please use the question panel, which is located on the right side of your screen. If you don't see the question panel, click on the orange arrow and then click on the little icon next to questions to open the window. And you can type in your questions there. So Sri, I think this is such a critical area, and I love the notion of being able to really understand how many business processes you have and how many applications are actually running those business processes and how many are critical, right? And I think we can take that even a step further. Of those critical applications, what is the usage of those applications? So I have an example. One of the business units that I ran IT for at Johnson Controls, we were replacing an old traditionally architected CRM with a full stack cloud digital CRM. And there was a desire that we had to replace all the functionality. of our traditional CRM. So I asked a simple question. I asked how many users. There were about 1,000 users of the CRM. It was definitely considered a critical application. And then I asked the question, how many active users? And once you tell me that, I want to know how many transactions, how much functionality are those active users actually using? Well, we never got to the last question because the number of active users was only 100. Only 10% of the users were actively using the critical application. And so, you know, there's so much to understanding what are the processes, what are the applications, and then how are those applications actually being used. And I think, well, maybe we wouldn't be surprised at how much of our organizations are still a bit manual and still being run on Excel spreadsheets and other types of things, even though we have tools in place, right?
Well, I know of companies, technically advanced technology. They're providing advanced technology solutions to the industry. But inside most critical applications, from a usage point of view, they spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on maintaining the records of sales in CRM in your case, as an example. And when you look at the usage, 0 to 10%. And that is what I meant by the cultural change. When
absolutely.
people are looking at cultural change, it is not like I put a Salesforce into your organization, now everything is going to be solved. What have you done for the adoption of it? That is the cultural change. And so the same example, IT got a new software package, there is a project, there is a budget, they bought it, they put it, it should be up and running. It is up and running on the 30th of September. Then what? Has it been adopted? Has it fit into our digital transformation journey? And if so, how is it going to fit in?
Yeah, because the adoption is all about change, and you know, the majority of people do not like change. So there is a lot that needs to be done culturally with the adoption to actually make things happen, right?
So that discovery and monitoring, when they're a continuous process, when you change these things, you're also continuously increasing the usage. I mean, after you change to your modern CRM platform, say, for example, all of a sudden the demand has increased from 100 people to 500 people. Yes, that has been a digitally transforming initiative that you've taken.
Absolutely. And the behaviors are a key part of that culture. So one of the things we did with the new CRM implementation was to make sure that all sales related meetings were run by dashboards, and they were real time digging into the data within a CRM to ask questions all the way up to senior levels, and used at every level of management, because it sent quite a message to the frontline employees that, you know, management's actually digging into my data. You know, they're looking at what I'm entering, so I better be entering
That's right.
utilizing
That's right.
it. And you also have to make sure that the frontline folks have the pieces in the tool that are actually helping them do their job better, right? And it's not just a reporting. In the case of CRM, it can't just be a reporting tool. It has to be enabling the frontline sales force to be better at doing their jobs.
Absolutely.
You know, Shri, another thing you mentioned was, you know, the importance of having applications available, right? At some point this summer, I'm a avid Microsoft user, but I use Google Calendar as my calendar. And at some point this summer, Google Calendar was actually down. And I did all the things you said, right? Oh, is my network connection not working? Is my Wi-Fi off? And in the browser, I could not see Google Calendar at all. Thank God on my phone, the Google Calendar app, I could still see what I was supposed to be doing that day. But I felt a little lost. Like, oh my God, what if I can't see my appointments? I don't have them memorized.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the digital transformation and consumer experience expectations transformation that these companies have brought in.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yep, that sounds great. And as usual, we will send out an email after this presentation. We'll have a link to the recording so you could listen at your own leisure or pass it on to others at that time. So thank you everyone for joining us in the webinar, Discovery is Key for Digital Transformation, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
thank you, Kerrie. Bye, everyone. Have a nice
Bye.
day.